Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Nestlé, you know these companies. But there's one company none of them could exist without. You've never heard its name, and it controls most of the food on your plate. Think about the last meal you ate. Whatever it was, a burger, cereal, a chocolate bar, a bag of chips, walked backwards through the supply chain. Past the brand on the wrapper, past the factory that made it, past the restaurant or the supermarket. Who controlled the raw ingredients? Who grew the wheat, processed the beef, refined the sugar, traded the cocoa? You've heard of Apple. You've heard of Amazon, Tesla, Google. But I'd bet money you've never heard of the company that sits at the foundation of the entire global food system. It has $154 billion in annual revenue. It operates in 70 countries. It employs 160,000 people. And it has never not once been publicly traded. No stock listing, no required financial disclosures, no shareholder meetings for outsiders. By design, you are not supposed to know it exists. That company is Cargill Incorporated, and once you see what it actually controls, you will not be able to unsee it.
Joining me right now is David McLennan. He is chairman and CEO of Cargill, a major player in the agriculture and industrial products industry.
Cargill is not a food company in the way that Nestlé or Kraft is a food company. It doesn't sell you things directly. Its entire strategy from the day it was founded in 1865 has been to insert itself at every single link of the supply chain and make money at each step. Here's what that actually looks like. Cargill sells the seeds and fertilizer to the farmer. It then buys the grain the farmer grows and stores it in Cargill's own network of elevators. It ships those commodities on Cargill's fleet of over 700 cargo ships. It processes the beef, pork, and poultry that go into your burger. It is one of only 3 companies that control more than half of the global cocoa trade, which means the chocolate in your candy bar almost certainly passed through a Cargill facility. It owns Diamond Crystal, the largest salt supplier in the United States. It developed Truvia, the zero-calorie sweetener, in partnership with Coca-Cola. It handles the edible oils, the corn syrup, the animal feed, the biofuels. One analysis put it plainly: Cargill's model has always been to make money at every step of the way, selling seeds to the farmer, storing the grain, sourcing the ingredients for the bakery, the farm, the warehouse, the ship, the processing plant, the trading desk. Cargill is in all of it. Every year, it moves 225 million tons of commodities through ports and shipping routes it owns or controls. It handles over 25% of the world's grain trade. And all of this is owned by one family, the Cargill-Macmillan family. Approximately 100 descendants, 88% of the company between them. As of 2025, Forbes lists 21 of them as individual billionaires. Their combined net worth exceeds $60 billion. Bloomberg calls them one of America's richest but least known corporate dynasties. A former Cargill CEO described the family this way: they want to draw the curtain down. A lot of rich people want to be on TV, not these people. And that curtain is structural. Because Cargill is private, it has zero legal obligation to disclose its finances, its strategy, or its practices. No quarterly earnings reports, no SEC filings, no public scrutiny of any kind. When you buy a McDonald's burger and Cargill supplied the beef patty, you can't know that. When you buy a Hershey bar and Cargill traded the cocoa, you can't trace that. When you shake salt on your dinner from the Diamond Crystal shaker on the table, that's a Cargill product. And most people have no idea. The company was founded on this model. In 1865, William Wallace Cargill opened a single grain warehouse in Iowa, positioned at the end of a railroad line, inserting himself between farmers who grew food and buyers who needed it. That's been the playbook for 160 years. Control the infrastructure, stay invisible, profit from both sides. But here's where it gets genuinely alarming. Because Cargill is not alone. There are 4 companies that together control between 70 and 90% of the global grain trade. They are known in agricultural economics circles as the ABCD quartet. A is Archer Daniels Midland, B is Bunge, C is Cargill, D is Louis Dreyfus, and they have dominated cross-border grain trading since the 19th century. Together they traded 540 million tons of commodities in 2022, roughly 60% of the total global volume of cereal and oilseed products on Earth. They control storage, shipping, processing, and financial trading. And crucially, they collect enormous amounts of data on harvests, prices, and political developments in every agricultural market on Earth, giving them an information advantage that no individual farmer, government, or buyer can match. Here's why that matters in practice. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Ukraine was supplying roughly a third of the world's wheat exports. Wheat futures jumped 50% in a single month, the highest in 14 years. Hundreds of millions of people were pushed toward food insecurity. And the ABCD companies? Their profits tripled compared to the pre-war baseline. Cargill alone reported a 23% revenue jump to a record $165 billion. In 2022, 62 new food billionaires were created globally. A UNCTAD report found that up to 20% of food inflation during that crisis could be attributed to profiteering. The world went hungry. The grain traders cashed in. But the story doesn't stop at grain. Let's talk about meat and the lawsuit that finally broke the silence. In the U.S. beef market, just 4 companies, Tyson, Cargill, JB's, and National Beef Control, approximately 80 to 85% of all beef processing. More than 70 different meat brands sit on supermarket shelves. 4 corporations own almost all of them. The illusion of choice is, quite literally, packaged and labeled. In 1970, 70% of the consumer's beef dollar went to cattle ranchers. Today, that figure is closer to 30%. Farmers now receive about 11.8 cents of every dollar spent on domestically produced food. Cargill is on both sides of that squeeze, selling seeds and fertilizer to farmers on the front end, then buying their grain and meat at the prices Cargill sets on the back end. Then, in October 2024, something extraordinary happened. McDonald's, the single largest beef buyer in the world, sued Cargill, JBS, National Beef, and Tyson. The lawsuit alleged that starting in January 2015, these companies collusively reduced the supply of slaughter-ready cattle, coordinating production cuts over secret phone calls and meetings to drive beef prices artificially higher. McDonald's called it a monopoly, in which buyers were forced to accept prices dictated by the processors. Cargill settled with McDonald's in April 2025. The terms were never disclosed. In May 2026, the Department of Justice confirmed it has conducted an active antitrust investigation into the beef industry, reviewing over 3 million documents. One industry commentator called it the most aggressive federal scrutiny of beef packing concentration in 100 years. The case against JB's, Tyson, and National Beef continues. So here's the question this all leads to. When 4 companies control most of the world's grain, when 4 meat packers control 85% of U.S. beef, when a single private family empire threads its way through everything from your morning coffee to your dinner table, what does that mean for something as fundamental as food security? It means that a fire at one plant, a war in one region, or a decision made in one corporate boardroom in Minnetonka, Minnesota, can spike the price of food for 1 billion people. It means farmers receive a smaller and smaller share of a system that couldn't exist without them. It means the entire scaffolding of what the world eats is resting on a handful of companies that have no legal obligation to tell you anything about how they operate. Cargill has never had to file a public disclosure in 160 years of existence, and in that silence, it has become the most powerful company you've never heard of. If that sits uneasily with you, good. Share this with someone who thinks they know where their food comes from. And drop a comment. Did you know Cargill existed before today?